this is Jon Southurst reporting for Bitsonline.com. And we're at the Satoshi's Vision Conference in Tokyo 2018. Today, I've got with me Patrick Dugan. Patrick Dugan is from a company called TradeLayer. But is that a stealth project? Or
yeah, so this is actually the first media that I've done, so we're kind of coming out, and it's basically a branch off of the Omni project, which I was stewarding in 2015 and 16. And
Omni is in Mastercoin?
Formerly Mastercoin, that's right, yeah. The infamous first ICO in crypto history. And it had a bit of a rough path, and I kind of took over some responsibilities in 2015 and got it back.
It's still around.
It's still around, and so I've been self-funding development with a team of guys in Chile for about 6 months now.
Okay.
And yeah, 2017 was like a pretty good year, so fortunately I've had the liberty to do that. And what we're developing are decentralized derivatives. And the basis of that hedging will allow you to create decentralized dollars, euros, yen, etc. As backed by crypto, and this algorithmic graphic network of settlements between contracts.
Dollars backed by crypto.
Yeah, native
so that's
synthetic dollars.
That's like the opposite of Tether.
Exactly.
Okay. So how does that work exactly?
So we have an algorithm where every trade is its own atomic contract. And they form this huge graph, which we then collapse into a series of payments at settlement time. So the demo for that is coming maybe within a month or so.
How many people you got on your team?
4 full-time employees.
Nice. And you're based in Chile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right, I have to ask, in the context of this conference, why Bitcoin Cash is.
Well,
involved at all?
I grew up playing a lot of RPGs where you get to pick different factions and do quests for them, and then you alienate the other ones. So I thought, well, okay, given that this is a real-life RPG of sorts in crypto land, it might be fun to pick the other faction, the underdog faction, right?
I see. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, ultimately.
For the record, I have not picked a faction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'll get to that in a second. But I mean, ultimately, what I want to do is on-chain bear money. And I believe that the formatting of what they're doing with Bitcoin Core deviates from that vision. And also, I want to have a lot of trades and a lot of DEX liquidity, and that's all on chain. I mean, you can take things off chain. So we have something for the cancels and orders using Tendermint, which we're going to be prototyping after we get the peg currency prototype done.
Tendermint.
Yeah, I like Jaquan's work a lot. He's kind of an OG of the proof of stake side of things.
Certainly is.
But the ultimate trades are very much on chain. So we need to. I want to fill Litecoin up. I want to fill Bitcoin Cash up, and maybe even Dogecoin for like gaming stuff where you don't care about it too much. I'm sort of a throughput maximalist. So
throughput maximalist, right?
Yeah, I think.
I'm going to remember that.
Well, and it's a trade-off because obviously. Like BitShares has the most, and Steemit have the most transactions. And yet, some people would say, well, proof of work is like fundamentally more sound money or what have you. So keeping in that, we're going to allow people to have the proof of work chains, but instead of being long some commodity and having risk, you're long dollars, and you accrue yield from the what's baked into the derivatives, right? So the guys who you're essentially kind of lending money to are paying something for that. So this exists in BitMEX. Yeah. Previously, Bitfinex, you had to fully deposit it. So now you're not going to have custodial risk to do that. So now you're going to be able to have everybody from SoftBank down to a mother in Botswana saving money in the currency of their choice, getting competitive yields. I think it's going to really make a lot of people's lives a lot better.
Interesting, because that's always the problem I see with any kind of distributed exchange is how do you handle fiat?
Right.
And so, I mean, we do have tethers, which sort of solves the problem, but at some stage, people want dollars.
Yeah.
Like, they talk about how much they love crypto is all they want, but most of the traders are out there for the dollars.
What if you could have both? Right? What if you have a dollar denomination that's backed by crypto? So at any given time,
that would be interesting.
Right, you redeem it atomically to the same address that it was issued to. So you can audit your dollars through an RPC call. Yeah, and then at that moment you would get back however many amount of the native currency.
So who holds the dollars?
The dollars are held initially by the person who clicks the transaction to make them, but then they could pay people with them, they could trade with them, and then those people could click the redeem transaction, suck it right out of the original atomic reserve address. So you can have millions of addresses, each with different little chunks of native coin and hedge, backing all these dollars.
But the dollars are still held in traditional bank accounts?
No. I mean, there's synthetic dollars, like the way that international banks create euro dollar M3 money supply. So the reason why like QE didn't work is because the derivative markets were like kind of consolidating, and in the process there was a net unwinding of the synthetic dollars that banks create internationally. So then, you know, central banks do the M2 or whatever, the M1 introduction of all this QE money, and it was just enough to kind of fill the gaps. And that's why you get these like Asian financial crisis, these boom bust cycles with foreign capital, and it's quite, you know, it's very centralized. You know, it's a bunch of hotshots fly in and they get some deals, but this is going to be everybody owns their money. It's that original vision. But instead of, I think it's a naive idea, this idea of like hyper Bitcoinization, that everybody's just going to get their bits. You know, you're gonna wire in $1 million to get like a bit cent, you know, in 2029 or something, and it's apocalyptic. I mean, like that doesn't seem like an orderly transition. So what I foresee is actually an evolution of the wholesale finance system that we had with big international banks, but it's gonna be everybody, are the individual counterparties.
I certainly hope so. My dystopian, pessimistic view of all of this is, if it works the way it's supposed to, then the man is going to come and shut it down.
Well, they definitely want to control things, right? So you've got common reporting standards, you've got Sesame Credit in China, and then, you know, whatever is going on in the U.S. You know, maybe I'm too close to it being an American to comment, but yeah, no, there are definitely these authoritarian forces at work, and they're building, you know, the infrastructure of the prison planet. And we need to be aware, get over our petty tribal differences, realize who our true enemy is. It's centralization, it's authoritarianism, and it's this like on-chain real-time tax withholding, you know, like why are you spending your money on that? Like, you know, an inescapable trap of money, right? And we have, I think, 3 or 4 good years to utilize this blessing of early hype that's ahead of the adoption curve, really. It's a bit ahead of itself. Use that capital, build things up, do the marketing, reach out to, you know, I want to set up some kind of viral marketing program with lots of ambassadors, and we're going to have a built-in social referral thing based on game theory. So you spend a little bit of coin, and then with that sunk cost, you give it to someone. You don't want to just give it to yourself, right? You need them to actually have a net economic externality to kick some fees back to you. So we're experimenting with things like that to really hit the grassroots.
All right, well, on that anarchic note, I'm going to end it there. He said he was jet lagged.
Yeah, well, overcompensating.
Okay, so if people want to find out more about this, maybe get involved, where should they go?
So we have a website at TradeLayer.org with a lot of information.
.org.
.org, yeah.
Not .io or com.
No, .org. Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to keep, you know, we're like a private little company developing this, but we're trying to keep it in the vein of sort of, you know, making money, but altruistically. And, you know, I definitely want to get a bigger sphere of people than just our core development team involved.